Paula Anderson was a woman blessed with striking beauty, yet she lived a simple, unassuming life. Despite her allure, her relationships always ended the same way. Her boyfriends would leave, frustrated by her refusal to yield to their desires. One fateful night, however, her life took an irreversible turn. Driven by a moment of recklessness, she gave herself to a man she barely knew, a stranger who left her with more than just memories. She was pregnant. A wave of profound regret washed over her in the aftermath. She never saw him again. He simply vanished into the night in his luxurious car. 2 years into her relationship with Ryan Carter, Paula was excited for their anniversary. Ryan picked her up, and instead of heading to their usual restaurant, he steered the car towards a high-end hotel in Chicago. "What are we doing here, Ryan? I thought we were going out to eat," Paula asked, unable to hide her surprise as they pulled into the driveway. "I have a surprise for you. Come on," Ryan said, getting out of the car and hurrying around to open her door. Paula, a mix of confusion and anticipation swirling within her, could only follow his lead. They walked into the hotel, and Ryan obtained a key at the reception. Assuming he'd made a reservation, she followed him onto the elevator. As they ascended to the 5th floor, Paula's excitement grew, picturing a romantic surprise. But upon entering the room, she was met with stark disappointment. There were no balloons, no roses, nothing like the scene she'd imagined. "Why are we here, Ryan?" Paula asked, bewildered. Turning to face him, she saw him lock the door. "Where's the surprise you were talking about?" she pressed, her forehead creasing with confusion. Without warning, Ryan pushed her onto the bed and climbed on top of her. "This is my surprise, Paula," he said, immediately attacking her neck with forceful kisses. "Ryan, what are you doing?" Paula exclaimed, trying to push him away, turning her head to avoid his lips. But Ryan was strong, unrelenting, and Paula struggled to fend him off. "You'll like what we're going to do, Paula," he said, grabbing her breast with one hand while continuing to kiss her neck. "Stop it, Ryan. What's gotten into you?" Paula cried, her voice laced with anger. Summoning all her strength, she managed to push Ryan away. He paused, momentarily taken aback, but then ripped off his button-up shirt. Paula scrambled off the bed, her heart pounding, dreading what her boyfriend might be planning. But Ryan quickly grabbed her arm and pinned her back down. "Ryan, what are you doing?" Paula pleaded, tears welling in her eyes. "Paula, I love you. Why won't you let me do this? We've been together for 2 years. Why won't you give yourself to me? Don't we love each other?" Ryan said, then started kissing her neck again. "Ryan, stop," Paula insisted, pushing him off once more and sitting up. "Yes, I love you, but I need you to respect what I want. How many times do I have to tell you I don't want to have premarital sex?" she said firmly. "If you really love me, Paula, you'll give yourself to me. Damn it, we've been dating for 2 whole years, and my friends are mocking me because you're so uptight. All I've ever done with you is kiss. If you really love me, prove it, Paula," Ryan said, pointing at the bed. "So that's your reason for doing this to me? Because your friends are teasing you? You've forgotten how to respect me." "Ryan," Paula shouted back, her voice trembling with rage. "You're being way too uptight. You're not the Virgin Mary. Look how you dress, you're practically half naked. Yet you won't let me touch you. You act like some kind of saint, but I know you're going to give in to what I'm about to do," Ryan retorted, yanking Paula toward him and kissing her roughly. He forcefully pushed her skirt up, touched her thigh, and then grabbed hold of her underwear, as if about to pull it down. Suddenly, a sharp slap echoed through the room, landing squarely on Ryan Carter's cheek. The resounding impact stunned him, his face turning sharply to the side. "You pervert. How could you do this to me, Ryan?" Paula Anderson declared angrily, fixing her skirt, which had hiked up during the assault. "Wait, Paula, Ryan began, sounding as if he'd finally come to his senses. He took a step closer to Paula. "Don't," Paula warned, holding out her hand to keep him away. "From now on, we're finished. I'm going to forget this ever happened. You know I could press charges against you for rape because of what you just did, but I won't do it. Don't ever show your face in front of me again." Paula said firmly. She quickly grabbed her bag and stormed out the door, unable to believe that the man who once treated her with such respect would try to take advantage of her. It wasn't even the first time this had happened to her. 3 previous boyfriends had all ended things the same way, pressuring her to give up her body. This time, she had truly thought she had found a man who would respect her decision not to engage in premarital sex. But she had been wrong. Ryan turned out to be just like her other exes, only interested in one thing. Feeling deeply hurt, Paula left the hotel, her tears already spent. She was tired of shedding tears over the same reason again and again. Lost in thought, she found herself walking to a nearby bar. She decided to get drunk and forget everything that had just happened. This was how things usually went in her relationships. She always got left behind because she wouldn't give up her virtue. She wouldn't call herself conservative or a saint, and she definitely dressed according to modern styles. She wasn't trying to be coy or prudish. She simply believed in preserving herself for the man she would eventually marry. She had grown up holding that belief, and even though times had changed, she refused to abandon her principle that she would only give herself to her rightful husband. "Waiter, another tequila, please," she muttered, her vision blurring from the alcohol. She had lost track of how many shots she'd had, and she wasn't used to drinking at all. "You can't have another shot, Mississippi. You're way too drunk," said a deep male voice. He took the seat beside Paula at the bar and gestured to the bartender not to serve her any more alcohol. "Why? Who are you to tell me that? Are you my boyfriend or something?" Paula snapped, turning to look at the man, his face already indistinct. "No, I'm not, but I can be," the man answered with a smirk, letting out a soft laugh. "You're ridiculous," Paula said, which only made him laugh louder. "Where are your friends? You shouldn't be alone in this kind of state. Looks like you won't be able to walk straight if you stand up," the man remarked, his eyes filled with concern. "I can take care of myself. Look, I can still walk in a straight line," Paula insisted, rising from the bar stool. But within a second or two, she nearly toppled over. The man caught her, anticipating her stumble. Paula's face ended up pressed against his chest, and she quickly pulled away. "I'm fine, okay?" Paula said, shrugging his arm off. But he grabbed her again when she nearly collapsed once more. "Where are your friends? I'll take you to them," the man said. "I don't have any friends with me. Do you see anyone here?" Paula shot back, forcing herself to sit back down on the stool. He stood close, ready to catch her if she fell again. "Let me just take you home. Where do you live?" he asked. He wasn't sure why he was offering to help a woman he had just met, but he knew one thing. He was captivated by her beauty. He'd been observing her from afar for a while. "To your house," Paula replied, slurring her words. She herself didn't understand why she said that. "What?" the man asked, confused. "Take me to your house," Paula repeated. She had no idea where she got the nerve to say that, but at this point, she simply didn't care what might happen. "Do you want to come with me to my place?" the man asked again, his eyes searching hers. "Sure, let's go," Paula said without hesitation. Before long, the man was guiding Paula toward the elevator. He wrapped an arm around her waist as she staggered. They headed up to the penthouse. He actually owned the entire building, with a bar on the first floor and rented out the other spaces for various business ventures. He brought Paula inside his apartment, and she didn't resist once. There, he sat her down on the bed, but she collapsed onto it completely, feeling her eyes begin to shut. "Do you want something to eat? Coffee? Tell me what you want," he offered, his voice gentle and concerned. Paula Anderson lay on the bed, her vision blurred and her words slurred from too many drinks. The man beside her asked, "What do you want from me?" "I want you," Paula said as if it were no big deal. She hardly seemed aware of what she was saying, likely the effect of the alcohol. "What do you want in me?" the man repeated, a hint of amusement in his voice. He sat on the edge of the bed, aligning his face with Paula's, who was already stretched out. "I can't see you clearly, but you look handsome enough," Paula replied, and the man laughed softly. "Of course I am. You might even drool when you see me once you're sober," he said with a teasing grin. "What do you think I am? A rabid dog? Paula retorted, laughing as well. No, you look like a goddess. You're so beautiful, the man said gently. He reached out and stroked her jet-black hair, which had a slight wave to it. Thanks, but I've known that for a while, Paula answered, sounding cocky, and let out another laugh. Why are you drinking yourself into oblivion? What's your problem? The man asked, his question immediately sobering her. Paula paused mid-laugh, her expression softening. I left my boyfriend because he kept pressuring me to give him my virginity, Paula answered casually, as if talking about the weather. Best decision, the man replied, his eyes reflecting a flicker of admiration. I don't know why guys only ever seem to want my body. Isn't it possible to love without sex? Paula asked, chuckling. But the man could sense the bitterness behind every word she spoke. Well, it's the trend these days, he commented, trying to downplay the underlying sadness in her voice. So you like sex too? Paula asked, challenging him with her gaze. No, the man answered firmly, though he was undeniably captivated by Paula's beauty, which he'd been noticing from across the bar. Really? Paula asked, then lowered the strap of her dress, revealing her bra. The man's eyes landed on her exposed shoulder, his breath catching in his throat. What are you doing? He asked, his voice suddenly hoarse. What a stupid question, Paula murmured before pulling him in for a kiss. She didn't even know the man's name, and yet the alcohol was making her bold. This was unlike any feeling she'd ever had, even with her ex, Ryan Carter. She had never felt this spark, this magnetic pull. It was as if she was ready to surrender her virginity to this complete stranger. The man pulled off his shirt, revealing his chiseled physique, then slipped off her bra without hesitation, seizing the blessings right in front of him. Every touch and caress from the stranger seemed to set Paula's body on fire. Their kisses deepened, filled with passion and possessiveness. His lips moved from her mouth to the base of her ear, sending what felt like 1,000 volts of electricity racing through her. They were both aching with desire and couldn't wait any longer. In that moment, their eyes seemed to communicate wordlessly. Then, slowly, he took possession of her. Even though his approach was gentle, she still winced at the pain she felt. Are you really a virgin? The man asked, noticing her discomfort. Paula nodded slowly, her eyes squeezed shut, enduring the pain of what was happening to her. Realizing she truly was a virgin, he took extra care in each movement until the pain gradually receded and an indescribable sensation took its place. Paula didn't know how she was able to give herself to a man whose name she didn't even know, whose face she could barely see, and yet here she was, surrendering herself to a man she'd just met instead of to the boyfriend she'd spent 2 years of her life with. When they finished, the man lay beside her. She nestled her head against his chest, and he grinned, hugging her tighter. This man was Prince Mackenzie Jiren Wilford, a strikingly handsome individual who was the object of obsession for nearly every woman he encountered. He had left his homeland, Monero, 5 years ago, a kingdom he was destined to rule one day. He had abandoned everything there, including the woman he had loved with all his heart. She was the reason he'd wanted to run far away. 5 years had passed, and everything had changed. The once good boy had become a daring, hot, and popular guy around town. The princely virtues he once embodied had vanished, replaced by a man who loved to play and to hurt. Yet, for reasons he couldn't explain, this was the first time in a long while that a woman had truly caught his eye, because she resembled Ari, the woman he had loved most. Hey Paula, why don't you just wait for me? I have to go into the office this Saturday. I'm ticked off because my coworker bailed on me, said Clara Johnson, Paula's friend who worked as a secretary at a local company. It's fine, I can manage on my own, Paula replied, dismissing her concerns. The two of them were having breakfast at Clara's house. Paula was currently living with Clara, her best friend since high school. Clara owned her own house, a gift from her grandfather. She was a member of the prominent Del Fuo family, well known in the town of St. Ildefonso. Paula Anderson came from a family that lived a comfortable yet modest life. They weren't wealthy, but they weren't destitute either. On the other hand, her friend Clara Johnson belonged to a well-off family. How can you say you'll be okay on your own when you can't even reach your own feet because your belly's so huge? Besides, you're due any day now. Just wait for me, Clara insisted, her worry evident. What does my ability to touch my feet have to do with anything? Paula asked, eyebrows knit in confusion. And anyway, Clara, the OBGYN clinic is just one quick taxi ride away, and I'll be coming straight back, she reasoned, trying to soothe Clara's anxieties. Clara sighed, relenting with obvious reluctance. Fine, but if only you knew who your baby's father was. I'm still furious at that jerk. He does his thing and then up and leaves you, Clara said through gritted teeth, her voice laced with anger. Oh Clara, enough already. Let's not talk about that man anymore. And if you're about to ask me if I remember his face, no, I don't. All I remember is, well, his, you know, Paula retorted, her cheeks flushing slightly as she tried to lighten the mood with a teasing grin. Anyway, hurry up and go. You'll be late if your dragon of a boss yells at you again. You'll be in a bad mood. You're so crazy sometimes. Clara shot back, rolling her eyes, but her lips curving into a fond smile. Anyway, text me when you get to your OB and also when you get home. You might suddenly go into labor on the way. Put my number on speed dial, got it? It's already on speed dial, Paula answered, her eyes dancing with affection. Clara came over and gave her a quick cheek-to-cheek kiss. All right, I'm off. Maybe I'll be back by noon. I won't be at the office long, Clara said. Okay. Go on. Be careful, Paula called after her, watching her leave with a sense of both relief and loneliness. Clara finally stepped out of the house, leaving Paula alone with her thoughts. Paula slowly cleared their breakfast dishes and placed them in the sink, her movements slow and deliberate. She moved carefully because of her large belly, which weighed her down. She was nearly 9 months pregnant. It had been almost 9 months since that nightmare of a night when she had a one-night stand with a man she didn't know, never even got his name, and couldn't recall his face. She remembered waking up alone in some unknown place, alone in the bed, with no trace of anyone else. She had never tried to learn his identity in the weeks that followed. Only 2 months later, when she learned she was pregnant, did she attempt to go back to the bar where she'd met him, only to find that the place was shut down by its owner. She had no leads and not even a name or physical description to go on. That was when Paula truly lost hope. Her parents were furious because she couldn't present the father of her child. They were also disappointed to learn that Ryan, the boyfriend she'd been with for so long, was not the father. They disowned her and told her never to return home until she had the baby's father in tow. That was how she ended up living with her friend Clara for the past few months. Paula tried working online gigs so she could contribute to expenses. She had some savings set aside for her delivery thanks to her previous job as a flight attendant for Montello Airlines. Once she got pregnant, she had to resign from that job right away. After washing the dishes, Paula took a shower, preparing for her weekly OBGYN visit every Saturday. Clara usually accompanied her, but Clara had to go in to work this time. When Paula arrived at her doctor's office, Dr. Rainsies immediately performed an ultrasound to check on her baby's condition. Everything looks good, Paula, Dr. Rainsies said, her voice warm and reassuring. Your baby is healthy with the right weight and measurements. Just be ready, the birth is coming soon, she smiled warmly. Yes, Doc. I'm excited to finally meet my baby girl, Paula said, gazing at the monitor and watching her baby move. Why are you alone today? Where's Clara? You really shouldn't be going places alone now that you could go into labor at any time, the doctor admonished, her concern evident. Oh, Doc. Clara had to do something urgent at the office, so I came by myself, but I'll be going straight home after this, Paula replied, offering a reassuring smile. All right, if that's the case, but if you feel anything odd or experience any pain, call me immediately, Dr. Rainsies said with concern. Paula nodded and offered a polite smile. After a few more instructions, she left the clinic. Meanwhile, Ken Wilford was driving back to his family's mansion. He'd stayed out all night drinking with his Uncle Angelo, who had celebrated his birthday the previous day. Uncle Angelo was the best friend of Ken's father, Ismail. Back when his father still lived in the States, and his wife was the only friend of Ken's mother, Fiona. Uncle Angelo and Aunt Fiona already had 2 kids. Jackson, older than Ken by 3 years, and a younger girl named Hermine, who was 15. Ken was well aware of his parents' love story. His mother had once been his father's personal maid, but as Ken was lost in thought, a woman suddenly appeared in front of his car. He slammed on the brakes, his heart leaping into his throat. He saw the woman clutching her belly, looking as though she was in severe pain. Ken immediately jumped out of the car to check on her. "Miss, are you all right?" Ken asked, his voice filled with concern. The woman was doubled over, holding her stomach tightly. "No, I think I'm about to give birth," she said, grabbing Ken's arm tightly, her grip surprisingly strong. She still hadn't lifted her head. Only after a moment did Ken notice fluid streaming down the inside of her legs. "Please help me. Take me to the hospital," the woman pleaded, finally looking up at him. And Ken's world stopped spinning. A wave of shock washed over him as he looked into her eyes, the very same eyes that had haunted his dreams for months. His ears were ringing with her voice, as if echoing from a distance, and for a second, he couldn't understand a word. After 9 long months, here she was, the face he hadn't been able to forget, the one that had haunted his thoughts and his entire being. How could Ken forget that night he spent with her, the single night of passion that had brought him back to life? He had searched for her, but he'd had to leave her sleeping in his bed early the next morning when a private aircraft arrived to pick him up and take him back to Monero, his homeland, because his younger brother Al had been in an accident. Ken's parents had summoned him urgently, and he left so quickly that he wasn't able to say goodbye to the sleeping woman. Ken was jolted out of his memories by a sudden slap on his shoulder. It didn't really hurt, but it was enough to bring him back to reality. "Hey, you're zoning out. I know I'm gorgeous, but please, sir, just get me to the hospital. My stomach is killing me. I can't take the pain," the woman cried, gripping his arm even tighter as she grimaced in agony. Ken hurriedly helped her into his car. As he drove, he heard every groan and moan she made from the back seat. "Is it still far, sir?" the woman asked, obviously in tremendous pain. "Just hold on a bit. According to the GPS, about 10 more minutes," Ken said, feeling anxious himself. He'd never been in a situation like this. Even though the air conditioning was on full blast, cold sweat trickled down his face. 10 more minutes? That's too long. I can't stand it. She cried out again, her voice strained with pain. Ken glanced at her in the rearview mirror, noticing her strained expression. Even though her face had rounded out and she'd gained weight, he couldn't possibly mistake her for anyone else. She was the very same woman he had been searching for all these months. Yet he felt a stab of pain upon seeing she was pregnant. Maybe she was married? He couldn't stop himself from asking. You really shouldn't be out alone when you're this far along. Where's your husband?" "I don't have one," she replied, her breathing labored. Ken nearly lit up with relief upon hearing that. "Why are you smiling over there?" the woman asked, although she clearly was in too much pain to focus. She could still see him through the rearview mirror. Nothing. But how can you be pregnant if you don't have a husband?" Ken asked, his curiosity getting the better of him. "Oh, do I really have to spell it out?" she snapped, even though she was clearly struggling and in immense pain. She let out a deep sigh while Ken just scratched his head awkwardly. Can I at least know your name?" Ken asked, seeing a chance to finally identify her. "Paula. Are we almost there?" she answered, her hands wrapped tightly around her stomach. "Your full name?" Ken pressed on, his heart pounding in his chest. "Does that really matter right now?" she huffed, clearly annoyed. Then, as if deciding to humor him, she continued, Paula Anderson." Ken grinned again, relieved he finally knew her name. What about your address? Where do you live?" he asked. "Oh, come on, you're asking me that now? Can't you see I'm in excruciating pain?" she muttered, her voice laced with annoyance. "I'm just trying to help. The nurses at the hospital might ask me your information since I'm the one." With a sigh of frustration, Paula realized Ken had a point. 232 Nara Street, Graywood Subdivision, St. Helena City. "Please hurry. she urged. Ken Wilford committed the address to memory. Gripping the steering wheel, he pressed down on the accelerator, speeding towards their destination. They arrived at the hospital and nurses rushed out, swiftly placing Paula in a wheelchair. "Sir, this is as far as you can go," a nurse said, halting Ken at the entrance to the delivery room. As they prepared to wheel Paula inside, she spoke. "Wait," she told the nurse, pushing her. Turning to Ken, a man she barely knew, she pleaded, "Don't leave me," before being whisked away. Ken stood in the corridor, her last words echoing in his mind. He'd seen the fear in her eyes, felt the depth of her plea. Though he offered no verbal reassurance, he remained, waiting outside the delivery room. Hours later, a nurse emerged, beaming. "Sir, congratulations. Your wife just gave birth to a healthy baby girl," she exclaimed. "Please, come with me, so you can see your daughter." "But miss, I'm not." Ken began to protest, but the nurse was already leading the way. "I'm not the father," he mumbled under his breath. Nevertheless, he followed her to the nursery. He was instructed to put on a PPE gown for sanitation. A strange excitement fluttered in Ken's chest. Moments later, another nurse appeared, cradling a tiny infant. "Sir, here she is, your baby girl," she announced, offering the child to him. Miss, I'm not really sure," Ken stammered, but before he could finish, the nurse gently placed the baby in his arms. "She's adorable, sir," the nurse said, glancing at them with a broad smile. Ken couldn't help but smile as he gazed down at the baby. She yawned slightly, and for a moment, it seemed like a little smile. For reasons he couldn't articulate, Ken felt an overwhelming urge to claim this child as his own. 2 days after Paula gave birth, the doctor discharged her from the hospital. The delivery had been normal, with no complications, freeing her to go home. Now, she was completely focused on being a first-time mom. "Paula, what did that guy look like? Was he hot?" Clara Johnson teased while cooking breakfast. Clara had taken 3 days off from work to help Paula, who was still sore and could barely move around. "Yes, he was handsome," Paula admitted, blushing slightly. She was referring to Ken, the man who'd brought her to the hospital. "Wow, you're so lucky. And he even paid your entire hospital bill? You'd only just met that guy. He's something else. Maybe he has a thing for you." "I'm telling you, girl, you're beautiful," Clara teased. "I feel embarrassed. Truthfully, I want to find him and pay him back for the expenses. He ended up shelling out nearly 50 grand for my hospital bill, which is no small amount. I inconvenienced him that day, and I never even thanked him. Thank goodness the nurse gave me his name and address. I plan on going to see him when I'm up to it," Paula explained. "That's right, you should go. And who knows, maybe you two are meant for each other," Clara joked, making a playful squeal on Paula's behalf. "You're insane," Paula replied, rolling her eyes. "No man's ever going to be interested in me. Why would anyone want a woman who's already, messed up?" Though she joked, there was a trace of bitterness in her voice. "Stop being so dramatic, Miss Anderson. Let's eat while Amara's still asleep," Clara said, referring to Paula's baby girl. They sat down together, chatting about Paula's birth experience. Clara's expressions grew more horrified the more details Paula revealed, which only made Paula laugh harder. Clara ended by declaring she'd never marry or have kids. "Men are all the same. They want the fun part but have the audacity to hurt our feelings. They have no idea how hard it is for women to go through all this. They should be cherishing us like queens." Clara ranted with feeling. Paula just laughed at her friend's passionate outburst. A week later, Ken still couldn't get that adorable baby girl off his mind. Her sweet little face, the warmth of holding her. He felt a strange joy he couldn't explain. Because of these feelings, he'd gone ahead and paid Paula's hospital bill, even though he wasn't technically obligated. Something inside him compelled him to do it. Now Ken was at the bar he owned. He'd opened it less than a year ago, yet it was already popular. Owning a bar had been a passion project. He loved to drink, but he also served as the general manager at KM Financial, where his uncle Angelo was now the acting director, a position once held by Ken's father, Ismail. Dude. Why not just introduce yourself to her? Shello, Ken's friend and self-proclaimed ladies' man, suggested. What's the harm? That would solve your problem. Ken sighed, taking a swig from his beer bottle. Yeah, and what am I supposed to say? Hi, miss. I'm the guy you had a one-night stand with 9 months ago? He answered sarcastically. You're so confusing. Shello retorted. You spent months looking for this woman, but now that you found her again, you have no plan. You're all over the place, man. Ken gave a weak laugh and shook his head. I don't know, dude, he muttered, sipping his beer again. Hey, Ken, have you ever considered what I'm thinking? Shello asked, leaning in. Ken shot him a raised eyebrow. Quit looking at me like that, it's creepy. What are you thinking? Ken asked. Well, Shello said, grinning slightly. What if you're actually the baby's father? How I wish, Ken answered with a humorous chuckle. That's impossible. I used protection that night. Shello cackled. Condoms aren't 100% foolproof. Buddy, like Safeguard soap, 99% effectiveness, which means there's still that 0.1% chance it could happen, he said, giving Ken a nudge. Ken found himself laughing softly at his friend's ridiculous comparison. Enough, Shello, you're drunk. Go sleep it off, Ken mumbled. I'm serious, man, Shello said. Remember my friend Pao? He knocked up that nerdy girl he was casually fooling around with, even though he says he used protection. He was convinced someone else was the father till the baby was born, and a DNA test proved it was his. Boom. Goodbye, single life. Shello howled with laughter. He was forced to marry her because her dad threatened to bury him alive if he didn't. Later that night, Shello's booze-fueled stories all blurred into a dull roar in Ken's ears. Both men eventually crashed, thoroughly drunk. Nearly a month had passed since Paula gave birth. She just finished bathing her baby. Clara was already at work and wouldn't be back until late, so Paula was getting used to taking care of her child by herself. She was learning something new every day. The only thing that made her sad was that her parents still hadn't checked on her, even though she was sure they knew she'd given birth by now. It hurt, but she had no choice but to accept that she was truly on her own. She understood she had disappointed them gravely. Now she was ready to head out for her baby's regular pediatric checkup. On the way, she planned to drop by Mackenzie Wilford's place. The nurse had given her the name and address of the man who had paid her hospital bill. It was on the route she'd be taking, so she figured she might as well go. She didn't want to be indebted to anyone, especially a virtual stranger, so she intended to return the $50,000 he'd spent and properly thank him. Paula took a taxi to the address on the paper. The pediatric visit was over. The doctor said her baby was doing fine and just needed some vitamins. Once she arrived at the street listed on the paper, the cab driver said, "Ma'am, this is the street you're looking for based on the address you showed me." "All right, sir, please pull over." "I'll get out here," Paula replied. After paying, she got out and carefully placed her baby in a stroller she'd brought along. Baby Amara was fast asleep. As Paula walked, pushing the stroller, she looked around, feeling a strange sense of recognition. "Why does this place feel so familiar?" she muttered. Then, turning a corner, she realized why. "Wait, that's the bar I went to before." She glanced at a sign in the distance. Yes, it was the same bar from months ago. Lifting her gaze slightly, she spotted the building's large sign, 1 Avenue. Checking the address in her hand, she realized, so, this is where he lives. She frowned, feeling a jolt of nerves. She walked up to the building's security desk, showed the guard the address, and he replied, "Yes, ma'am, that's here. Mr. Ken's penthouse is on the top floor. Just take the elevator up." "Oh, okay. Thank you," Paula said, heart pounding. She couldn't be mistaken. This was definitely the same building she had walked out of that morning 9 months ago after her one-night stand with the father of her child. "Oh, looks like Mr. Ken might be in trouble," the guard muttered under his breath, shaking his head as he watched Paula enter. "Guess his carefree days are over," he added with a wry grin. Paula's hands trembled as she pressed the button for the 25th floor. The top floor? also known as the penthouse. When the elevator doors opened, she was greeted by a massive mahogany door. She glanced around. The entire floor held just this single apartment. A large flower vase stood near the door. She remembered almost tripping over it when she left in a hurry all those months ago. Is he really my baby's father? Paula whispered, gazing down at her sleeping child. Does he even remember me? Is that why he paid our hospital bill? Her mind raced with questions, and she covered her mouth, feeling overwhelmed. She stood there for several seconds, lost in thought, until suddenly the door in front of her swung open. Out stepped the very man she was looking for. You, Paula murmured in astonishment, eyes widening at the sight of Ken. He looked equally surprised to see her. Meanwhile, Ken was rushing to dress in his corporate attire. He had a board meeting that day, and as the general manager, he was required to present his monthly report. He had overslept because of last night's drinking session, and he knew his Uncle Angelo would chew him out for being late. Gathering his car keys, Ken yanked the door open and nearly dropped everything when he saw Paula standing there with a baby stroller. For a few seconds, they just stared at each other. You, Ken said, his mind reeling. Ken, Paula muttered, almost stammering. You're the guy from that night. You're my child's father. Paula suddenly blurted out, the words tumbling out before she could stop them. Ken's eyes went wide at her statement. Paula stared intently at Ken's face while a slow, faint smile crept across Ken's lips at her words. But before he could speak, Paula caught him off guard. Rapist! You're a rapist! She yelled, swatting at Ken's chest. Ken was utterly confused by her sudden accusation. Hey, wait a second, he said, grabbing Paula's wrists to stop her flailing. He looked her straight in the eye. Paula froze, looking up at him with anger. A rapist? How can you say that when you yourself told me that night I could have you from head to toe? Ken shot back, not breaking eye contact. I wasn't in my right mind. You took advantage of me. You knew I was drunk. And yet you still did something terrible. Paula fired back. Maybe you were drunk, Paula, but that night was different. You willingly surrendered yourself to me. I saw it in your eyes. You wanted it. You wanted that pleasure. Admit it. Ken said firmly. Paula bit her lip, then yanked her arms free of his grasp, placing one hand against her forehead. That night was a mistake. Something that should never have happened, she muttered. So, you're also saying it was a mistake that this child was born? Ken asked, gazing down at their baby still asleep despite their raised voices. No, of course not. Paula snapped, glaring at him. Let's just forget that night ever happened. I'm not going to force you to take responsibility if that's what you're worried about. We can live without you, she declared defiantly. What if I told you I do want to take responsibility? I want to be the father of our child. You can't stop me, Ken Wilford spoke with unflinching resolve, looking straight into Paula Anderson's eyes. Paula couldn't believe what she was hearing. She had expected him to reject her, maybe hand her a large sum of money to make her disappear, but she'd been wrong. The first time I saw you again after 9 months, Ken began, I thought I was going crazy because I never imagined I'd actually run into you again. I tried to look for you, but it was nearly impossible. I didn't even know your name. You have no idea how many times I almost lost my mind. I wanted to see you so badly, but we couldn't find a single clue about who or where you were. Paula swallowed hard. But where were you that morning? She challenged. When I found out I was pregnant, I tried looking for you too, but how was I supposed to find someone whose face I couldn't even remember? It drove me insane. I had no idea what to do back then. It's a long story, Paula, Ken said. But if you'll let me explain, I'll tell you everything. Before Paula could respond, Ken's phone rang, cutting their conversation short. He pulled it from his suit pocket. It was his assistant calling. Hello, Greg. I know I can't come right now. Please tell Uncle Arthur I'm sorry, but this is more important than anything. I can't leave, Ken said firmly, glancing at Paula as though silently telling her she was his top priority. Then he ended the call and turned back to her. Come inside. Let's talk. Paula stepped into Ken's place, and they sat down on the sofa. Baby Amara was in front of them both, sleeping peacefully in her car seat. Ken wanted so badly to hold his daughter, but he didn't want to disturb her nap. She looks so lovely, Ken remarked, eyes fixed on his sleeping daughter. Paula noticed the pure joy on his face as he gazed at their child. I've thought about coming to you so many times, he went on. But I never had the nerve, especially since I wasn't sure I was the father. Paula frowned. Didn't you know? I thought that's why you covered our hospital bill, she said, confused. No, I didn't know, Ken admitted honestly. When I saw you were pregnant, I felt like the world came crashing down on me. He lifted his eyes to meet Paula's. But now that I know I really am the baby's father, he paused, emotion brimming in his voice. What I feel is beyond anything I've ever experienced. I'm so happy. The first time I held her, I fell in love. I've never felt so much love until I saw that little human. He reached out, and Amara's tiny hand curled around his finger. Let's get married, Ken blurted out. He turned back toward Paula. Her eyes went wide. Huh? Married? She asked in disbelief. Yes, Ken answered shortly, smiling at her. Are you out of your mind? You don't have to do this. Besides, we don't even love each other. We only spent one night together, and we barely know each other. Paula's face showed obvious protest. Then I'll make you fall in love with me, Ken replied. You're really losing it, Paula shot back. Do you even hear yourself? You act like marriage is no big deal. Marriage only becomes complicated if you're already married to someone else, Ken said, shrugging. As long as you're single, everything's simpler. Paula's brow furrowed. She couldn't deny he had a point. Why are you saying all this? She asked. To make everything right, Paula. I don't want my child growing up without a father, and I especially don't want her to be labeled illegitimate because we aren't married. Paula sighed heavily. She had only intended to return the money Ken spent and thank him, never imagining they'd end up discussing marriage. I'll think about it, Paula managed to say, swallowing hard. There's nothing to think about, Ken teased her with a cocky grin. Paula's face twisted at his arrogance, though she couldn't deny how handsome he was. I'll take you home, Ken offered, realizing he wouldn't take no for an answer. Paula agreed. On the way, however, Ken pulled into a steakhouse. The steak here is really good, Ken said once they were seated. While Paula studied the menu, her mouth began to water. She wouldn't admit it, but she was starving. Breastfeeding Amara took a lot of energy. Now the baby slept quietly beside them in her carrier. Paula told the waiter her order, and Ken requested the same for himself. Throughout the meal, Paula felt unsettled by the way Ken kept looking at her. It gave her butterflies she'd never felt before. She tried to ignore it and focus on eating. Tell me about yourself, Paula, Ken said at one point. Paula stopped mid-bite. What would interest you? She replied coolly. Why are you acting so aloof? The last time we were together, you were sweet and soft-spoken, Ken teased, grinning as though recalling that night. Paula nearly choked on her own saliva, instantly catching his meaning. She glared at him, then went back to her meal. They didn't speak for the rest of lunch. Ken settled the bill and they left. He finally drove her home. When Paula got inside, she was greeted by her friend Clara Johnson, who gasped when she heard the story. Are you telling me that Ken Wilford was the one who helped you at the hospital and that he's also your baby's father? And now he wants to marry you? Oh my God. Did you save an entire country in your past life or something? Talk about luck. Clara exclaimed dramatically. What's the big deal with that man that you're reacting like this? Paula asked, shaking her head. He's famous, handsome, and rich. He's not a celebrity, but he's all over social media. People say he might even be a prince, though no one's confirmed it. A prince? Seriously? What is this, a fairy tale? Paula chuckled. You're the silly one. Plenty of countries have kings and queens, so obviously there are princes too. Listen, Paula, I'm not trying to meddle, but you should accept Ken's proposal before he changes his mind, Clara teased. Paula groaned. I'm confused. Why does he want to marry me? He doesn't actually love me, so he's just tying himself to me for life because of Amara. I know he's only doing it because we share a child. It's not like there's any other reason. Don't jump to conclusions, Clara urged. No one's forcing him to marry you, so maybe he's just being a stand-up guy. Doesn't that make you happy? I guess, but it still bugs me. He did take advantage of me back then. He knew I was drunk, Paula said bitterly. Clara burst into laughter. He couldn't have done anything if you hadn't let him. You didn't resist him, you weren't forced or hurt. Maybe he just awakened something in you, Clara joked. Look at it this way. You're lucky enough that he's offering marriage and stepping up. Not everyone would. Think about your ex, Ryan, who only wanted to sleep with you. But here's Ken talking about marriage like it's no big deal. It's amazing. You should do it. That way, your parents might finally forgive you, and you won't be alone raising Amara. It's not easy to raise a child by yourself. Paula sighed heavily. She knew Clara had a point. A week went by, and Paula hadn't heard from Ken. She guessed he was giving her time to think about his marriage proposal. She slept in late one morning around 9. She'd been napping whenever Amara napped so she wouldn't get too exhausted. The delicious aroma of cooking filled the house, surprising her. What's that smell? Someone's cooking, Paula muttered. It can't be Clara. She leaves early on Mondays. She tiptoed downstairs, holding a long stick she'd grabbed in case she needed to defend herself. When she reached the kitchen, she saw a man cooking with his back turned. Who are you? Paula demanded. Why are you in our house? The man slowly turned around, and Paula's eyes went wide. Oh, chill, honey. Put down that stick, Ken said, smiling at her. Paula lowered her makeshift weapon, scowling. Ken, what are you doing here, and how did you get in? Clara let me in, he replied, brandishing a spatula. Judging from the sizzling sound, he was frying bacon. Paula felt her cheeks warm. The smell of bacon mixed with Ken's aftershave was intoxicating. She tried to push away the fluttery feeling in her stomach. Stop calling me honey, she snapped. There's nothing going on between us. Ken's face fell into a mock frown. He took off the apron and draped it over a chair, then walked slowly toward her, a playful grin curving his lips. Paula felt rooted to the spot, catching a whiff of the same cologne she remembered from that night. Ken gently placed his palms on her cheeks, sliding them down to her jaw. Don't you know that the moment you gave yourself to me, you became mine, Paula? Ken said in a low, serious tone. Their gazes locked. Paula's heart pounded as though thousands of butterflies had been let loose inside her. She couldn't move. Now, honey, Ken continued, have you picked a date for our wedding? Her eyebrows arched in confusion. She told him she needed time to think, and now he was asking when she wanted to get married. Ken was sweating, nervous as he sat next to Paula in her parents' living room. In front of them were her father, Alexander Anderson, her mother, Mary Anderson, and her older brother, Jeremy Anderson. After a lot of back and forth, Ken had convinced Paula to marry him, so he was here to formally ask for her hand, but he couldn't escape the piercing stares from Paula's dad and brother. Alexander especially looked like he wanted to throttle Ken. So why are you only showing up now, young man? Mr. Anderson demanded. You just suddenly grew a backbone. Took you long enough, he snapped. Dad, please calm down, Paula said, trying to soothe him. Stay out of it, Paula, he retorted, and Paula fell silent. Meanwhile, Mrs. Mary Anderson sat with wide eyes, seemingly enthralled by Ken's good looks. Her brother Jeremy looked ready to punch Ken at any moment. Ken, terrified of Paula's father, got down on his knees before he knew what he. Loy inoi qua ken kin moi nuoi ha hak kin gak. Thuong chow vio kung exien loy. Chow sen song chu trake nim voi kung gai kwaong. Chow muon koi ko it song sam song tot. Ken chantan inoi. On gi moi chuyen se don jon han, and hung tu luk on den. On mat bang jia kwaong Anderson keen on cam thay nu dang byuk veo fap truong. Ken, dung len di, kong kong kan phi lam vei. Paula kuyen nu. Kogang kio on v fiagi sofa, and hung ken ven kui goi. Chow beat chu de cho doi chow den day. On NOI truck teep voyong Anderson. And hung vmot vi ly dubat kakang. Chow ta kong the den sam han. Xian chu the Thursday cho pala va chow don kan bi tro lai lam kan gai. Chung chow se ket han. Ngoi suong di. Twakong thoi my kai noi chun voi mot nuoi dang kui. Ong Anderson niam gi noi. Kenan han chong trov chong goi. Kem thay tim min dap thin tik trong long guk. Nu ka den day de xian koi kan gai twa. Tai sa ka kong du a bomi ka den kung? Ho ko beat chuyen nai kong? Ong Anderson teep tuc hoi. Ken gat dao. Thua chu. Bomi chow beat a. Chow ko duok su chap thuan kwa ho. And hung ho kong the den day nai duok vidang ben jai quiet and hung vi quan trong. Ho se bay den veoge koi kwa chung chow kung voi and hung nu oi than kok trong jia din. Tai sa kong phi truok dam koi. Ong Anderson kien tri hoi nai umai. Twa muon noi chuyen voi ho truok. Hey ho don john la kong quantam den kung gai twa. Kong phi ve dawa. Kentra loi. Kogang ju cho jong noi ben tin. Bomi chow ko rat nunia vu va ho kong the roi koi dat nuak kwa min trong mot thoi john dai. Ong Anderson bat koi. Quinoa nuoin gak nin. Ka dang che neo chung twa dea. Ai tren doi lai ben ron denamusi kong the tam du dam koi kwa contre min. Ho la vua va hong how he saw. Ong che ju. Boiv nu dung la nu vei. Ko lu twa si hu. Ken hang jong. Thua chu dung la nu vei. Bomi chow la vua va hong how quamanero. Vive ho tuk su kong the tui tien roi di duok. Ho kong the divang kwa lao. Ong Anderson nuoi vua koi fa len. Sak sie nuok bot. By Anderson sut chut nua fun ming bon mi dang and du. Doi mat kwa Jeremy mo to vi kin gak. Va paula sut chut nua fun cly nuok ep. Sai gi ko? Ong Anderson lap bap. Mat mo tu. Ho la vua va hong how quamanero. Ve nin v mat ky thuit. Chow la mot hong tu. Ho kong the bo bi trong tre quamin duok. Clara dot nin zut hien. Bibi amara trente. Koi de cham soc mb de jia din ko the noi chien riang. Ve la that saw? Ka tuk su la mot hong tu? Clara thought len. Dung ve. Ken thuanan. And hung xian moi nuoi dung noi voi ai kok vi trianai. Chow chi muon mot kuok song yen ben jia din min. On liknin paula. Nuoi ven kan ha hak mom kin gak. Ong Anderson chi ko the gat dao. Ko gang tu hoa su that gay soc nai. Sao du. Kai paula va ken omot min trong fong kok. Bomi va em tre ko dang ve quan biamara. Hoa ra bomi ko chua bao geotuk su tu bo ko. Clara Thursday nan rang ho thuang hoi tam v paula va tam chi kung gue qua choam bi qua Clara. Tai saw on kong noi voyem on larmo ti hong tu? Paula hoi kai ho ko chut riang tu. Chien du kong quan trong. Ken noi don john. Oh my on kong phi larmo ti hong tu. And hung jia din on rat dan jia. Ho kong chi la gioi kui tak ben thuang. Ho tuk su la vua va hong hao. Chong phi asi larmo tvu bi boi lan doi voi ho nu on koyam saw. On kong kan phi lam vei. Ken nam lay te ko. Dung la ban dao bomi on kong he vui vi. Dac beat la bo on rat tuc john. And hung on phi dung cam. Chung ta ko mot du a con. On muon vua la mot nu oi cha ko trake neem vua la mot nu oi chong ta quaem. On sansong doi mat voi con john qua bo vi hai mi con em. Du duay not on kong the chu dung duok la mat m va mara. Long guk paula that lai kai ken teep tuc. On ko the tu bo nai vang. And hung kong the tu bo m va mara. Ko kim dong vadat ni no lai ly thiet du a kot qua Clara rang ken ko the du ko nai tut sai nin dao tien. Su chan ton trong mat on bai geo keen paula tu hoi lu du ko the tuk su dung he kong. Trong kai du. Jia din Wilford dang now lone vi thong bao qua ken. Bo on. Isaac Wilford. Vo kung tuc john kai beat. Ken de ko kanomai v and hung trian thong niam gato monero. Vi ko kan nagwai jia Thursday ko the keen ken kong duok thua kanai vang. Mion Agatha. By jong xe jua long trung ton voi and hung ky vong hong jia qua chong vatin mao tu din cho ken. And hung koi kung bada ung ho contre varat vui mung duok gap chow qua min. Tai nin. Isaac van ju vi mat ka ko va bon chan. Bat chap and hung kich tin. Mot dam koi don john and hung trang na da dien ra tai beat Thursday Wilford. Chi ko mot vi nuoi tam du, chiu la ban bi va nuoi than qua paula, chiem fan lon kok moi. Vi fia ken, chi ko jia din ruat thik quan den, bao gam mot vi nuoi ban the nu on cruise, ba fable, ho rosita va jia din chu Arthur qua ken. Paula trong that long lay trong cheek vei koi dui ka. Cheek vei koi qua Paula Wilford om sat ko the ko mot kech hon, how den noi duong song ko the code song noi bat han. Trong kai du, ken Wilford trong dac beat bon bao trong bo vest mouse and dam quam in. Sao bui leva treo loi thing gwin. Paula buk toi chow don kok voi tu catch la ba Wilford lon dao tien. Chuk mung ca hai con. Agatha Wilford noi. Mim koi ap voi doi vio chong moi koi. Ba quay sang Paula. Chow mung den voi jia din Wilford, Paula. Ba noi them. Kio ko veo non gone. Cam on me? Paula noi mot catch rutra. Mim koi dap lai. Kovan chua chik chan lam the now to sung ho voi bomi ken. Du sa ti ho kung la vua va hong how. Va de kung la lan dao tien ko gap ho truck teep veo gay humdu. Mac du Ismail Wilford. Bo qua ken? Van ko vi ka ko chiu vi tin hin qua con tre min. And hung ong van du lich su kai noi chien voi bomi qua Paula. Den lut ho. Ho kong beat lam the now de tuong tak mot catch tunin voi mot 6 vuatuk Thursday. Twala bo qua Paula. Ten twala Alejandro Anderson. Bo qua Paula noi. Gon nu vap phi loi noi qua min. Ong kem thay nu loi min by that nut lai kai gap mat mot 6 vua. Ong geo te ra va Ismail lich subat te. Fu than qua Mackenzie Wilford day. Bo qua ken Ismail noi. Rat han han. Ong noi them. Ko gang no mot nu koi. Ca hai jia din gioi thu lon now. Ismail gioi thu vio min. Agatha va kak con qua ho. Trong kai Alejandro gioi thu vio min. Mary va con tre qua ho. Jericho. Trong kai du. Jericho kong the Roy mat koi Madison. Gai qua ken. Aro rong la de trung tieng set I tin nai tutsai nin dao tien. O fia ben kia. Ismail va Agatha dang ben ron dude and ko chow gai dang yu amara. Nuoi duok mak mot cheek vei bong ben voi mot cheek no trentok. Agatha bm bi trong kai Ismail noi chuen by bo. Su ko chiu truok du qua ong tan bien truok mat chow gai. Kai tik chiu dai ket tuk. Moi nuoi kung now den ku gi duong by bien qua chu Angelo ol yong de du, teak after party. Ismail va Agatha tin gwin trong bi amara de doi vio chong moi koi ko chut doi john rieng tu. Moi jia din duok o trong emotin goi, na kio bungalow rieng beat tren kudat. Ben trong bungalow qua doi vio chong moi koi. Cannot nin bi Paula len theo kio bi ko dao. King ko jiat min. Nai. On dang lam gi ve? The suong. Ko het len. De chan lung tung. Saw on lai fi the suong? Ken tru chak. Mim koi tenengich. On bi ko tang den fong gu va nain hang dat ko suong juong. Chung tan and di tam truok chu nhi? On hoi, ngon my goi y. Y on la saw? Tu on di tam di. Paula dap tra. Ngon my nin on. Ken koi kuk kich. Saw moi ju on noi du sai trong madam ve? Tai saw chung ta kong the tam kung now? On nai and I. Kong bao geo. Paula tra loi dut coat. Dang jiao on du gi ve? On de nin thay moi Thursday tu dao den chan roima. Ken noi voi mot nu koi ran man. Tien lai gon han. On dat ca hai te len nim o hai ben nuoi ko van in veo moi ko. Souden in veo mat ko tu koang catch chi vi inch. And hung nuim tuk su kong muon. On se kong epm. On lam bam. Roy dung tang day truok mat ko. On bat dao koi tung cuc ao somi polo mot catch cham. Rai nu dang bu dien mot mon trin dien. Paulin in cham cham. By thoi mean boi ko bung san chuk kwa ken. Nai kai on nem chikao somi sang mot ben. Ko sut chut nuache nuok ming. Ko jiat min koi kami kain and thay on dang koi kwa that lung. Duong nu ko widen koi het du. Dung lai. Dung ko lam gi them nua. Kan sao on day. Paula kalen. Madam o2. Saw now. Ken tru chok. Kong muon nin lai saw? Ko no da. On that la du de exom. Ko rit len. Bit ca hai tai lai. Md kong na gi het. Paula chung ta la vio chong roy. Chong ko gi la de exom nu ca hai chung ta du muon ca. Kenak no ko. Aro rong la dang tik Thursday tru chok vio min. On koi to to kai thay hai ma ko ung hong. Du dut song kuyen kichon han. Kong na gi het. Ko dap tra. Bokwa juong de tran xa on va tron dui mot tam chan nu mot du a tre han doi. Ken vin kondang koi tum tim. Di veo fong tam va dong kwa lai. Tu cho tron dui chan. Paula na thay tieng nuok che. Ken o trong du koang 30 foot. Ko chi chue ra koi chan kai na thay tieng kwa mo. Ken buk ra. Tren nuoi chi quan mot cheek kan tam quan eo. Ko en han chong dao mat di. Leak thay nu koi ten engich tren kuan mat on tu ko mat. Ko luon den and thay ko len nin and hin yudik quan. On tam lao kwa de. Dang engwa nai muon thay bo ve nai ra roy. Paula ka now. Dv fi tu quan out. Ken che neo. Sa fi mat song veo du thay du? Ko the thay nai o de truok mat on ma. Trong mo kwa on thoi. Paula dap tra gay gat. On kong kan fi mo. Ken lam bam. De o trong tam voi qua on roy. On tumle ko. Kio ko sat veo nuoi tu fia salva om chat ko trong vong taking ko how nu kong the siu dong duok. Paula chet lang vien gak nien. Ko kam thay doi moi map qua kenan len gai ko. Daga noi len tren de ko truok kam jiak and hung nu han mem my qua on. Kao kot vio min qua ken bung len. On han tu ko suong. Paula kam thay mot gon lua ap lon toa kap ko the. Nam chat mat de chong lion hung kam sukai. Ko jiat man ra koi vong te qua ken va quay fat lai doi mat voyon. On kung chi nu and hung nuoi kok thoi. On chi muon tinduk. Ko fun ra mot catch buk toi. Kem suk qua ko soy suc ben trong. On chua bao geo chi lam tin voyem. Paula. Ken noi ki. Lon dao tien chung tao ben now. On do yem. Kan no kong. Va kung jong nu bai geo. On muon cam, nen duok tinu qua on mot lon nua veo toine. On duate ra sao gai ko vahan ko. Paula kong the foon and rang ko tik cam jiak doi moi on cham veo moi ko. Kendak ko nam suong juong. Tip tuc vo v ko mot catch jiodong. Nai ca kai ko kong chu thua nen du. Kovan cam nen duok su triu men tuk su trong motsai cham quan. On kong bo sot bat ky bo fan now tren ko the ko. Ko kong the chik chan lu du ko fi la tin yu dike tu ke kong. And hung ko chik chan vmot du. Toine. Ko lida on chiam lay min hon tone. Ko v nu paula dang bat down and ra rang ko kim suk voi ken. And hung du gise ra tip theo trong moi quan hi qua ho. Lu ko fat hien ra rang ko jong voi nu oi you see you qua ken. Ari? Paula kong the ngung sui gi vi ju du. Kong gugon han sao kai ho than mat voi now mot lon nua. Ko tende. Duok ken om chat trong vong te map. Ca hai du kong mak quanao. Paula kong the jai tik cam jiak kwamin. Nai ca kai ko kong thuan and ju du. Mot ju gi du ben trong tre tim koda thay doi v nuoi den ong geo de la chong ko. Moi Thursday v kuok han trin qua ho de dien ra quan han. Nu mot tsai chop mat. Kovan chuatuk su hu rov on. Ho chi mo ben now mot vilon. Ho chua chia se and hung nam thang hen ho nu how het kak kap vio chong de ket han. De kong fi la ka chuyen tinu ma ko tung mo yo si. And hung moi Thursday de thay doi veo tsai dem ko treo than choon. Ko nam mat du de tuk jiek. Chong mei chok. Ko kim thay vong te qua ken seat chat quan ko. On han kung de tuk roy. Chow bui sang vio yu. Kenti tam. Han len tran ko. Konan ra on kong beat ko de tuk nin ko siuda on tip tuc. Gia vion go. On nain hang vut talk ko. Paula chua bao geo tre qua su dong nu the nai truokde. Ko kem thay and tone duok tran trong. Ken then di chuyen can te qua min ra koi dao ko. Roy dung de. Paula hoi han vida hamat nin v koda thoang thay tsai qua on. Trong nu the no kung muon chow bui sang kove. Ko nin ken luk loi trong valet tim quanao. On kong he thay du veo dem ham truok. Ko siu len leak nin cho den kai thay on ligon. Ko en han chong nam mat. Jia Viongu. On Cui Suong, Dat Mot Nu Han Len Tran Ko. Roy Ko Na Thay Tien Qua Mo Va Dong Lai. Nai Kai on Roy D. Paula Rit Len Trong Long. Lon Lon Tren Juong. Quan Min Trong Cheek Chan Nu Mot Cheek Bon Burrito. Trong Kai Du. Ken Sut Chut Nua Nai Dung Len Kai Ra Koi Fong Ti Thay Madison Dang Doi on Ohan Lang. Ko Dung Koan Tay. Trong Rov Ko Chiu. Saam Lio Day? Ken Hoi. Kutu Kai on Twen Bo Ket Han. On Chuatuk Su Noi Chien Sao Sak Voi Madison. On Don Ko Den Day de Hoi Mot Lot Ka Hoi. Tam Chi Ko the Lamang Mo on Mot Tran. Di Thoi on Tre. Min Noi Chien Mot Chut. Madison Ra Len Voi V Mat Ka Ko Thu Kien Nan. Ko Kwe Nu Oi Va Di Ra Nagwai. Va Ken Di Theo Nu Mot Chu Cho Kan Goan. Tren Sen Thuong, Madison Kong Lang Phi Thoi John. On Fat Dien Roya? Ko But Ming. Dang Noi Gi Ve? Ken Hoi Mot Kech Ben Tin. Mac Du on De Gi Ngo and Hung Gi Ko Din Noi. Vo On Paula. Ko I Trong Y Het Nu Ari. Tat Ca Chung Ta Du Soc. Tin MD. Ca Bovami Nua. And Hung Chung Ta De Kogang Kong De Lo Ra Ve Tym La Gi. Madison Hoi Doi Mat Nu Koan Veo On Koi Paula Chi Vi Ko I Trong Jong Ari Thoi Sa. Dung Noi Voyam La on Vanchua Quain Duak Kotane. Chuk Chan La on Ko the Ho Tro Dua Tre Ma Kong Kan Phi Voi Vang Ket Han. On Chi Koi Ko I Vi on Nin Thay Kuan Mat Kwa Ari Kai on Nin Ko I Thoi Sa. Boi Vi Nu Dung La Nu Ve. Paula Se La Nuoi Phi Chiu Dung. Ken Kong Noi Gi. Chiam Lang Quan Sat Madison Voi V Mat Niam Tuc. Kong Ai Beat Rang Paula Dang Dung Sao Kan Kwa. Ne Len. Tre Tim Ko Dap Thin Tik Trong Long Guk. Dao Goi Ko U Di Theo Tung Ga Troi Kwa. Ko Cho Doi Ka Tra Loi Kwa Ken. And Hung Ga Fu Troi Kwa Ma on Vin Kong Noi Gi. Chi Tho Diamo Ti Tiang. Dudu King Paula So Hai Ju Toi Ti Not. Rang Ko Se by Tun Thuong Du on Ko Noi Gi Di Nua. Kong the Chu Dung Duok Nua. Ko Lang Lu Chuan Di. Vra Du Lyle Y Du on Voi Vang Koi M. VM Lam on No Denari. Polagi. Kem Thay Tre to Min Tan Vio Truok Wigi Du. Nai Kai Kogi Rang Min Ko the Dang Yu Ken. Tichuan Nai Lai Zra Ko Nam Tren Juong Cho Den Jua Trua. Jia Viongu. Koi Kung Ken Kung Kwe Lai. Nain Hang Le Vi Ko Va Tuk Juk Ko and Trua. Mak Du Kam Thay Met Moi. Kovan Goide V Kong Muon Cie Na Phi Cho Doi. Moi Nuoi Du Vui V Dung Bua Trua. Cie Hai Jia Din Du Hoa Thuan Voi Now. Bomi Kwa Ken Doi Su Voi Bomi Kwa Paula Mot Catch 2 Te Va Tat Ca Du Tro Trian Vui Ve Bet Chap the Gioi Kwa Ho Kok Beat Dan Muc Now. Madison Kung Ko Ve Tat Bung. Thin Thoang Kontang Paula and Hung Nu Koi Ap Moi Kai Ho Cham Mat Now. Tam Chi Kontiro Trian Non Gon. Sao Du. Taro Lai Fong. Ken Hoi. On Chu? Im Lang Kwa. Ka Tra Loi Kwa Luan Non Gon. Ane Ko Vi Tuk Su Lo Lang. Kai Now Chung Ta Vi. Muon Vi Na. Paula Tra Loi Ki. Kodang Thursday Don Du Dac. Ko Gang Tran Mat Ken. Chung Ta Se Vi Veo Chiu Ne. On Jai Tik. On Chi Muon Sua Chua Mot Vi Thursday Veo Fut Koi Trong Fong Kwa Chung Taro Beat Thursday. Saam Lai Kong Vuio Day? Ken Hoi. On. Ko Noi Kut Luan Gap Kwano. Ken Ka Mai. Nanthe Koju Gi Du Tuk Su Kong On Byuk Den Sao Lung Ko Vao Ko Tu Phia Sao. Paula Chet Lang Tai Cho. Hit Veo Mot Hoi that Sao Kai Ken Han Len Gai Ko. Ken. Ko Goi Ten On. And Hung No Jong Nu Mot Loi Fan Doi Han. And Hung Kai Ban Te on Truit Len Phia Tren V Phia Nguk Ko. Sai Cam Giak Nong Bong I Lai Uave Trong Ko. Gon Nu Ap Dao Ko. Ko Ep Minde on Ra, Du Roy. Paula Lam Bam. Louis Lai Va Quay Mat V Fire on. Noi Cho Su That D. Tai Saw on Tuk Su Koi Ken Trong Ko V Boi Roy. On Danoi Voyam Roy Ma. On Muon Chiu Trake Neem. Tai Saw on Muon Chiu Trake Neem. Paula Tuk Ep. V Chung Ta Ko Mot Duakan. V Amara Kenon. Tatnin La Kambi Kenon Roy. Ken Noi. Aro Rong La Dang Boi Roy Truak Kuak Tamv. Nga Kwa Paula. Du Ko Phi Lyle Y Du Wei Not Kong. Hey la vm trong jong ari, nuoi fu nu on tung yu? Paula hoi, jong run len v and hung kem suk don nen. Chung ta how nu kong beat giv now ken. Ve tai saw on lai chuk chan v vik ket han voi em nu ve? Ko fi v on nin thay ari moi kai on nin em kong? Em gai on noi rang on venchua quain duak koi. Ko fi on chi koi mvm tin ko jong ko I kong? Paula nin tang veo mat on. M dene len on noi chuyen voi madison. Ko thuan an, kup mat suong. Ken nain hang nong cam ko len de ko nin veo mat on. M ko ne thay on de tra loi ko I knew the now kong? Paula lak dao. Kong. M bo dv on mat qua nu thoi john de noi. M kong muon ne on noi bet siu ju gi ko the lam tun thuong m. Ken tho dai nong any. Nu mo lai? M se ne thay on noi rang ari larmo ti fan qua ku quan. Dung la hai nuoi trong jong now, and hung on kong koi and vly du. Su kok beat namo doi mat quarem. Paula. Doi mat I keen on cam thay nu min dang chet, dui nai tu lan dao tien on nin m. Doi mat I noi len ca non loi. Ko mot ju gi du trong chung ma on kong the jai tik duok. On cam thay ket noi voyem nai tu dao, vas outside dem du, on kong the now quain duok m. On muon m. Tat ca moi Thursday vm. On kong beat lu du ko fi la tin yu tut sai nin dao tien hei kong. And hung lin han on kim thay gon ket voyem. Va tan that my noi. On du m nai ca trua kai beat m mang tai kan qua chung ta. On muon chu trake neem. Dung vei. And hung kong chi vi dua kan qua chung ta. On muon tim hu vem. On muon dan ca kuok doi nai voyem. Hey tip tuc kim fa vi now my. On se kong bao geo chan vik tim hu m la ai. Du la ly du on koi m. V on de quantum denim roy. Paula kem thay nuok mat nong hoi treo ra komat va koda chung roy suong. Ken om ko that chat. Chung ta ko se mot kuok doi de tim hu v now. Ken lam bam. Vain and dung noi rang chung ta chua beat giv now. Du chin zak lyle y du on koi m. De chung ta ko the kung now tim hu. 3 nam sao. Ken va Paula dang song han fuck o Philippines. Hoda mua emoting goi na kwa riang min. Zay dung mot kuok song moi kung now nu ken de hua. Hoda cam fa ra rat nu su kok beat jua ho. And hung kung ko rat nu ju de dua ho den gon now han. Tinu qua ho chi gate song sao dam han theo doi john. Gio de, ho vua den kung dien minero de donjong sin va nam moi. Ho luandan ky gio du moi nam de amara ko the gap ong ba. Ton bo jia din Paula kung den. De la lan dao tien bomi vam tre ko den tam kung dien Wilford. Ho kin gak, jong nu Paula de tung kin gak veo lan dao tien ko den. Ngak nin truok su trang le duong nu byuk ra tu mot bo fim. Ismael va Agatha chow don ho loy veo lan qua beat Thursday. Treo chobi amara and hung nu han got geo. Moi nuoi treo now and hung loy chow vui vi. Agatha va mary bet dao tro chuyen how hung nai kai nin thay now. Trong kai and hung nuoi denong noi chuyen va koi du a v and hung vindagia din trong mot bua and tai fong and lon. Ko the thay moi nuoi han fuck nu the now. Jua bui tu tap. Agatha quay sang con tre ken. Em gai con ko de cap den vik dua ban tre den jong sin kong? Kambi noi rang muon gioi thu on I voi chung ta. V mat qua Ismail toi sam lai kai na thay tu. Ban tre. Ong beat Madison did a cap, den vik dua ai du den. And hung ong kong he tick Thursday v du. Ban tre? Ken lap lai, nu on mai. Ko I chua noi voi kan mot loy now vi chien du. Va mi kan qua tre. Du mi ko song mot min? Am I van la mot du a tre trong long. Ken ka now mot catch ton that. Hi nuoi nai. Agatha noi? Leeknin chong va kan tre. Kak nuoi ko muon Madison tero ton mot ba ko jia kong? Kan bi larem gai sin doi kwa kan? Ken? Ko nia la kan bi 28 tuoi? Bang tuoi kan. Kak nuoi tuk sugi kan bi kan kwa tre saw? Kadi? Ismail lam bam. Tavan kong tik y tuong kan bi ko ban tre. Agatha chi lak dao va dao mat. Ismail luan doi su voi Madison nu ko kan gai bi bong kwa min vi ko la kan gai due not trong jia din. Ong kong muon ko hen ho chut now. Mak duong min kwang dong y de ko kong get ong my. And hung sao tam trong long. Ong yo si min kong fi gap ban tre kwa ko. Gay jong sin den. Ismail dung otien san. Mat ong rang ro kai Madison zut hien mot min. O saw ban tre kwa kan kong den kung? Tata rat how huck duok gap on I? Ong noi voi mot jong gotten gayo. Mak du trong long ong dang and mung. Madison ka mai. Xian bo dung hoi. Chung kun chia te roy. Nu koi kwa Ismail sut chut nu acham den mang tai. Mak duong ko gang to our thong cam. O kan yu bo xian loy. Nu dung la nu vei. Ko la hai du a kong san ra de dan cho now. Ong du a te ra vo vi ko. Madison fat lo ong va di tang den cho Agatha. Nuok mat John Jua. Nin Madison kok keen tre tim Ismail tan vo. And hung ong kung kim thay ne nam lon lon kai ben tre ko kong kon trong kuok nua. O phia ben kia fong. Jericho dang vo kung vui swang kai beat ban tre qua Madison kong kon nua. On nin ko voi on Madisai tin kai ko fat qua chomwa nu oi truok ke thong noel kong lo. Cho on Jericho. Madison noi treo cho on mot mon qua. Oh that saw? On kung duok mot mon qua? On hoi. Tatnin roy. Madison tra loy voi mot nu koi than tien. Saudu teep tuc fat qua cho bo mi ko. Jericho nin cham cham veo mon qua trente. De mo mong vev kai nu oi ho se ket han veo mot gay, now do. Paula kung fat qua. De dan mon qua ken den koi kung. Qua on day. Ko noi. Treo cho on mot cheek hop no duok goi gem ken nan. Cam on mu? Ken lam bam? Cui suong han and han len moi ko. Kong ko gi. Morad. Paula noi. Ko la ko mot kun john trong naivam dang ko gang choi kem on. Ken noi dua. Nek mep koi. Du ngoc. Paula koi. Morad moi nuoi dang tamon in kia. Moi nuoi kung now enging nuoi vi phia truok kai ken xe lop gia goi. Ben trong la mot cheek hop maudu no. On leak nin Paula mot catch ko hu. Roy nak nap hop len. Dung noi voi on lime dang kahan on lon nuadene. Mu on den muc mu on koi on them lon nuaha. Ken true chok. Md. Paula koi. Cumora zem. Ken nin sung quan kun jia qua ho. Roy ken then mo hop ra. Ben trong la mot k Thursday tai hai vok va mot buck on siu qua mot mbt han. Moi nuoi du ha hok kin gak kai nin thay on dang cam gi trente. Ken froze, his eyes glued to the ultrasound image. A whirlwind of disbelief and elation swirled within him. Am I really going to be a dad again? He stammered, his gaze locking onto Paula's radiant face. Yes, love. We're having baby number 2. Paula exclaimed, her face beaming with a joy that could light up a room. A triumphant whoop erupted from Ken's chest. He swept Paula into his arms, spinning her around in a dizzying dance of pure, unadulterated happiness. I'm going to be a father again, he roared, his voice echoing through the room, a proclamation of joy for all to hear. A chorus of cheers erupted from their family, a wave of excitement washing over them at the prospect of another precious addition to the Anderson-Wilford clan. The anticipation was palpable, a shared joy that knitted them even closer together. Time, as it always does, marched relentlessly forward, blurring the days into weeks, the weeks into months. Before they knew it, the blessed day arrived. Paula went into labor, and after hours of intense effort and unwavering support from Ken, she brought forth not one, but 2 beautiful baby girls into the world. Twins. An unexpected, double dose of love and joy. Paula's love for Ken ran deeper than the ocean, an endless wellspring of affection and devotion. Their children, and any future children they might be blessed with, would be showered with that same boundless love. If she were to look back on that fateful night when their eyes first met, when a spark ignited that would forever change the course of their lives, she would, without hesitation, choose to give herself to him all over again. That one magical night had blossomed into an endless tapestry of love and happiness, a life she never dared to dream possible. Thank you, dear readers, for joining me on this journey, for sharing in the joys and tribulations of Ken and Paula. This brings our tale to its conclusion. There's nothing more to tell, for our neighbors are already belting out Christmas carols at the top of their lungs. A festive symphony that fills the air. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you all. May your days be filled with love, laughter, and the warmth of family. Until next time, farewell.